What is already pretending here, back with another Honkai style video, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the 3.3 characters and how she is probably going to be very beneficial for Castorice, and not just Castorice but the HP scalers, so including Mydei and also someone like Blade. This video will actually be talking about their more just roaming around kits, so if you don't want to be spoiled on that in any way, you definitely want to click off this video, so definitely be warned on that. So the way this video is going to be going is, first I'm going to be talking about Castorice herself, and what she kind of has and what she's kind of missing. She isn't really missing too much, but I still will briefly talk about it. Then I'll be talking about Hyacine. You already saw the title, but Hyacine will be the focus of this video, what she kind of does, and then I'll also be talking about why it's super broken for her and also HP scalers. Yep, that's all I want to say. Before I get into the video, if you guys found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you do or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star Wars content, and let's get straight into the video. So first, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Castorice, what she kind of has and what she's kind of missing. So Castorice does have a lot more going on for her as opposed to an HP scaler made back then. Whereas someone like Blade, when he released, all he really had was like Bronya, eventually got Ruan Mei, and that was kind of it. But now we have characters that are perfect for them, such as the access to true damage, because this is going to be based off the original hit. So we have stuff like Triby's buffs, Triby's E1 specifically, we have RMC. Sunday buffs work perfect for these kind of characters as well. And then obviously being made with more modern multipliers to do more damage, to where the true damage is actually very much noticeable. So the true damage access that RMC or Triby's E1 gives is a lot more apparent, well, whereas if Castorice didn't do too much damage, you wouldn't really feel it. And so again, we have stuff like Triby's buffs with the all-type res pen, making enemies just take more damage, the additional quantum damage, and then if you have the E1, the access to that actual true damage. RMC being able to buff crit damage, being able to give another turn for more HP drain, the other access to true damage, and so on. So we have a lot more characters where you actually have these relatively applicable buffs on these characters. Where back then we really just had characters that focused on more attack related things, so it was practically just useless for HP scalers. And the big thing that HP scalers still technically do kind of miss, so this does actually include Castorice and such, is a support that actually does increase max HP. There isn't really anyone on their best in slot teams that does give max HP or any buffs related to HP, because it's just something that they would be missing. They have buffs to their crit rate, crit damage, they have access to damage dealt, making enemies take more damage, all-type res pen, but they don't actually have the core damage dealing that they do with an HP increase. So their support slots are already fine. Again, they have Triby, RMC, some of them have Sunday, you know, you can still use Sparkle, Bronya, so on. But when it comes to sustains, none of the sustains really do actually something that's going to be super beneficial for them. Yes, we do have characters like Gallagher and Luocha who heal so much that does technically help someone like Mydei or Castorice who can gain charge off it, but they don't actually provide anything else besides that. You know, Gallagher has SP regeneration that you can build him as, but that's useless for Mydei, it's also useless for Castorice, as they don't consume skill points, so it doesn't really matter. And the things that they do provide, so Luocha just does a bunch of healing, so I don't really need to talk about him too much, he just heals a bunch. They don't really have someone like Huopo for these attack scalers that also have normal energy. You know, Huopo giving them massive attack percent increase is just so good for any character that would actually benefit off of it. You know, having someone else as opposed to having Huopo like with Yunli and such is very apparent. Imagine we had a Huopo unit, but also instead of attack, it was max HP. Imagine how crazy that would be. So characters that are really good with these characters like Linkshot Gallagher, they have a debuff, but it's for break damage. You know, with the access of Linkshots like Conan and such, you could still make them take more damage, but it's still not too much. Their main thing is the break damage. Luocha just gives a bunch of healing. Huopo, her attack buff is completely wasted, and so on. So what they were missing is a character that does heal a lot and also does a buff related to HP. Which finally brings us to the next point of this video, what Hyacine right now actually does. So the general gist of Hyacine is she's going to be a Memo Sprite healer that actually is built super fast, meaning she's going to be able to get a lot of turns. A lot of turns means more turns to heal. On top of that, Hyacine herself, the actual healing amount is super good. So you combine really good healing with a bunch of turns, you get such high healing output. It's actually insane how much she can heal. On top of that, she actually does do good solid damage, so it's like Triby, who provides really good buffs and at the same time is able to do some pretty good consistent damage. Hyacine is going to be able to act a lot, get good damage output. You know, it's still relatively trivial. It's not going to be something that like game changes like type of damage, like a main DPS type, but it's still really good as a sub DPS. You know, your healer actually doing damage as well is going to be beneficial. So you combine that she heals a lot, acts a lot, and does a lot of damage. That's already really good, right? But now comes for the best part. So in Hyacine's ultimate, she does have an enhanced state. When you do have that state active, you're actually going to be able to give everyone on your team max HP. Meaning, the more max HP you give everyone, the more damage these HP scalers were doing, because they scale off HP. The more HP you build them with, the more damage they will be doing. So Hyacine is going to be this fantastic sustain that acts a lot, does good damage, and heals really good, so the heals are going to be great for Mydei, especially in Castorice who drain a bunch of HP. Still going to be really good for someone like Blade as well. And at the same time, her buff is going to be making your allies gain max HP, which is in short going to further amplify all their damage. This is already so valuable on its own, and it becomes even more valuable if you factor in if you're running these characters with Tribi, which you most likely are doing. Tribi is also another character that scales off HP, so her damage will even be higher with this. So not only is your Castorice, your Mydei, your Blade actually doing more damage, if you have Tribi on the team, she's going to be doing more damage as well, which is going to help your sub-DPS potential on Tribi increase even more. So now you're actually buffing two characters if you are assuming running Tribi on the team to be buffed. It's mainly focusing on the fact that you're giving this big max HP buff to your main DPS, so again, Castorice, Mydei, Blade. But if you are running Tribi, which she is on the best team for every single HP scaler, every one of them wants Tribi on the team, she will also be getting this buff. Which for now, for every time you do hit with the ultimate to refresh the stacks, and every time you do have the follow-up attack proc, it's going to do more damage than it normally would. Because Hyacine is going to be that first healer that heals a lot, gets a lot of output, does good damage, and increases your team's max HP. So that max HP is going to be such a big thing for your actual main DPS that's an HP scaler, and also Tribi if you have her paired. And I guess another thing to add is more max HP will mean more survivability, so you could take more hits than you normally would. Because now it's going to take even more hits to get your max HP to 0, because once your HP goes to 0, you die obviously. So more HP means you're going to be surviving for longer. So not only are you doing more damage, you're also going to be able to survive for longer, which is going to be super good for someone like Mydei as well, so he has more HP to actually burn with every attack. So that's another thing you can consider. And then if we do factor in her light cone, Hyacine's light cone does seem like it's going to make enemies not only take more damage, not only give Hyacine more speed, so it's going to make her easier to build to act more as well, it's also going to give you access to a mechanic to burn your team's HP, which is, I don't even need to explain how good that's going to be for these HP drainers that are HP scalers. That's just going to be something that's super game changing for them specifically. But now for the final section, I already kind of talked about why it's super good for the HP scalers, but I'm going to be going over it in more depth now. So why are these like super good? Why is this going to be preferred over, you know, running someone just like Gallagher or Luocha? So for this example, I'm going to be using Gallagher and Luocha specifically because those are the two best healing output characters. Luocha himself does not actually provide any buffs outside of having that good healing, and then when we take a look at Gallagher, his main thing is he generates SP, which I already mentioned previously in the video is kind of useless for these characters. Blade does not actually use skill points besides the first enhance, and then he becomes SP positive, or well, he can't generate, but you know, he doesn't have to really use SP like that. Mydei doesn't actually consume the SP when you are in his enhanced state, he's not going to consume skill points. Castorice as well, she doesn't consume skill points, so the SP regen Gallagher trait that he does have and what he's known for is not really applying here because, you know, these characters don't really need it. On top of that, he does have a very noticeable break debuff, which is not really going to be something you want to notice here as well because, you know, the longer the enemies are not broken, the more they can attack you, so the better. You may feel a bit of that break damage, but it's not going to be something you really notice. But another trait, you know, both of these characters have is they heal a lot, which is going to be great for Mydei, get her more charge, Castorice, get her more ultimate back, or also heal the Memo Sprite. Hyacine is going to be the next character that has probably the best healing output in the game. She heals a lot and she also acts a lot. And now she and her buff is going to be the one that's going to benefit these characters the most with the max HP buff. No other buff or debuff that these other healers we do have providing is going to be as good as hers, because max HP is going to be their general actual damage based scaling. We already have a bunch of access to crit, increasing their damage dealt, you know, making enemies take more damage, but we don't have these abilities to actually increase these characters' max HP. A lot of us have the bare minimum on someone like Mydei, we just have 8k HP because that's what's actually recommended for him. But building him with more than 8k HP is still going to further increase damage. Obviously, you don't want to build too much HP because that'll be having diminishing returns. Same thing also applies to crit and such, but majority of people will build Mydei with just the 8k HP amount because that's the bare minimum that you do want to have for the full trace buff, and it's also going to be good enough HP for his damage. So we don't really think to build him past that, but with this HP buff, we're practically getting a free max HP for him, which is going to further amplify his damage by a lot. He's already around this 8k mark, which is not where the diminishing returns start. Now he's going to be getting this buff, and it's going to be making him hit that much harder because now his max HP is increased by a good amount. And then when it comes for Castorice, anytime you have downtime on Castorice, it's going to fill her ult a lot faster than the others. It's also going to increase her damage a lot because now you're getting more max HP for her. And she's not really built to the point where you have diminishing returns either yet. Same thing with Blade, he was not really built with it either. So this max HP buff is going to be something you very much feel in battle. The healing is going to be something you feel so much in battle because it's going to heal so much that it's actually going to heal your Castorice Netherwing so much to the point it can get more attacks. And if you don't have Netherwing out, it's going to help you get your ultimate even faster. With Mydei, he's just going to be able to get more charged, be able to consume more HP because he's above the thresholds to before he hits 0. For Blade, it's not really an issue to sustain him, to be fair, so the big healing output is not really something, but the max HP buff is still going to be the biggest thing. I'm also going to include, just briefly talking about E1 and S1 here. So, mainly S1, because S1 is just such a game changer on Hyacine. A lot of people, kind of just consider her having S1 at default. Her S1 it makes her easier to build, makes enemies take more damage, so that's going to be great as well. Makes her Memo Sprite do more damage. And again, as I mentioned, this is game changing. It makes you have access to burning your team's HP. For every single one of them, that is going to be good. It gives Mydei more charge, it gives Blade charges, and it can also heal the actual Netherwing, because that's how it works. You HP drain to give it HP, and if you don't have the Netherwing up, it's going to give Castorice even more ult. And at any time, the wearer will be using a basic attack skill or ultimate, which Hyacine will be using a lot because she's built super fast, so you're going to be able to very much notice this actual HP drain. So being able to burn this HP is going to help you accelerate how fast you want to get charged, how fast you have your ultimate up, how much you can actually attack with someone like Castorice, getting charges for your actual Blade, and so on. HP burn is something that no one else is going to have. And so she, with her Lycon having access to that, is going to be just super valuable for HP drainers. Nothing else will really come close to that. So she's able to increase max HP and at the same time burn their HP. Just a strong combination that's going to just leave every other healer in the dust pretty much. Not going to make other healers a bad option, they're still going to be fine, but Hyacine is going to be significantly better for these characters. And then briefly talking about E1, it actually lets her heal even more. But the main thing is it actually amplifies the amount of max HP you give everyone, and by a significant amount at that. So the bigger the max HP buff, the more HP you'll have on these characters, the more overall damage they will be doing. And E1 actually is higher than the actual percentage that the main buff already gives. So it's going to be giving a massive HP increase. So if you have E1 and S1, you're giving characters so much more HP than you normally would, and then you're also having access to that HP burn and making enemies take more damage. You're going to be doing significantly more than someone else who is running Luocha or Gallagher instead. And then the last thing I want to briefly talk about, I'm not having a section for this, it's the same thing, is that Hyacine's damage output. That's going to add up. It's like tribbies. It's not super big at on paper, but it adds up. The more you do it, the more you're actually going to notice it, and it's going to help you wiggle down enemies faster. Same thing applies to Hyacine. You're going to be getting those attacks to go off a lot, which is going to help you wiggle down enemies faster, to kill them faster, and probably actually speed up your rotations. So, and that's another thing to consider. So not only all these crazy buffs, HP burn, you're also going to be doing good damage. And if that is the video, that is why I think Hyacine is going to just be super broken for these characters. Everything she provides is just significantly better than anything else the other healers provide. Probably the best healing output that this game will have, an actual max HP buff, and then access to burning HP if you do get the Lycon, and then even more HP with the E1. It's all just going to be such a big thing that's just going to be better. I will say, though, this is just info circling the internet of what her kit is right now. Could be very different from when it is in the game, but I doubt it's going to change significantly. This is probably just going to be the general thing that she does do, and even if it is bumped down a little bit, she's still going to be the best. But once again, if you guys found the video helpful, dropping a like if you get it, appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star content, and I'll see you later. Peace out.